Yeah, my dad would sit us down, and we always kind of knew this was coming. So he'd say, are you guys going to talk at my funeral? And my sister would say she was going to, but we kind of looked at each other with a look like she's not going to be able to do it. But she proved us wrong, and I'm really proud of her for that. All right, so anyone that knows me well knows that whenever I don't know how to do something, I Google it. Well, when my dad passed away and I knew I wanted to speak here today, I had no idea how to go about it, so I turned to my friend Google. Well, Google didn't really help me much this time because when I typed in how to give a speech at a funeral, all the people giving advice were adults talking about remembering old people. There were some super long quotes that were meaningful, but they felt more like a 55-year-old talking at a 90-year-old's funeral, not a 17-year-old talking at a 48-year-old's party. But as I started thinking about what I was going to say, I realized that this is going to be easy. All the memories just kept flooding my mind, and the difficult part was just choosing which ones to share. I decided it would be easiest to break it down into 4 main categories that had a great deal of importance in my dad's life: cars, values, passion, and quotes. All right, first category, cars. My dad was definitely a car guy. Not a go out in the garage and work on cars kind of guy, just the kind of guy that loved cars and was always thinking about what his next car was going to be. And it's because of this that I don't think it's an accident that a lot of the memories that I have with my dad involve cars in some way. One thing that my dad loved the most about driving me places was that when I was in the car, I was a captive audience. I had nowhere to go. He could talk about anything and everything, and if I wanted to ride, I had to listen. And believe me, he took full advantage of this. Whether it was taking me to a baseball game, a basketball game, or just us going to a movie, the car ride never failed to turn into a profound philosophical lecture. Another great thing about car rides with my dad is what he liked to call the car code of silence. Whatever happened in the car stayed in the car. No telling my mom, and my friends couldn't tell their parents either. And I'm going to break the car code of silence by telling this story, but I think this can be an exception. A couple years ago, my dad, Devin, Brian, and I went to a Warrior game, and we walked back and we got to the car about 9:40 and all decided that we wanted Cold Stone. Well, we called Cold Stone and found out that they closed at 10. It was at that point that me, Brian, and Dev accepted the fact that we weren't getting Cold Stone that night, but my dad didn't share that belief with us because we drove home a little on the fast side. We got from Oakland to Livermore in 19 minutes, so it's safe to say that we weren't exactly going the speed limit. And of course, while he was driving, he said, "Don't you guys forget about the car code of silence." Well, we walked into Cold Stone at 9:59, and they were not excited to see us. They were 1 minute away from getting off work, and here we come walking in. We ordered our ice cream, ate there, and of course, when we're done, my dad walks up to the tip jar and places $1 in. Well, at that time, $1 in the Cold Stone tip jar meant that they had to sing a song. I have never heard a less enthusiastic singing than a song in my entire life. But making them sing was definitely my dad thing to do. Another really dad moment came last winter when me, Dev, and my dad took a trip up to our cabin in Strawberry. We were sitting around and decided that we wanted to go down to the store and get some snacks or something, so my dad threw us the keys and said, "All right, go get the car out, but be careful, it might be stuck." Well, me and Dev walk out, we turn the car on, press the gas, and the wheels start spinning. So we each grab a shovel, we start to shovel the ice out from under the tires. We think we're good, we got it all out. Turn the car on, press the gas, wheels start spinning again. We're out there for probably 30 minutes shoveling snow, and we have not moved the car an inch. We walk up in the cabin, we sit down, we throw Dad the keys, we're like, "We're stuck, we're not going anywhere." He looks at both of us, he says, "Watch this." We walk out, he gets into the car, turns it on, slams on the gas all the way down. We start sliding a little forward, throws it into reverse, slams that on, slides back a little bit, slams on the gas again, turns the car up into the snow embankment, which I, for some reason, thought you couldn't drive on snow, so we didn't even want to go there. So he did that, backs it right out. Me and Dev looked at each other, we're just like, leave it up to my dad to get it out on the first try when we were out here for 30 minutes. All right, and the last kind of car-related thing. My dad always loved the Range Rover Sport. Whenever someone was looking for a new car, he'd always say, "Hey, you should check out the Range Rover Sport." He would ask to borrow my laptop, and I'd say, "What are you doing, Dad, looking at the Range Rover Sport?" And sure enough, I'd open up my laptop to the Range Rover website with a personally customized Range Rover Sport on the screen. So I'd like to think that wherever my dad is right now, he's cruising around in a Range Rover Sport. All right, the second category is values. There was one value in a person that my dad put above all else, and that was a person's integrity. I can remember him saying 1,000 times, as long as you have your word, no one will ever be able to take that away from you. He always told me, if you tell someone that you're going to do something, you better do it. And based on everything I saw growing up, my dad not only preached integrity, but he had it. That was one thing about my dad. He talked the talk, and he walked the walk in everything he did. And I always wanted to have integrity like him and do what he did, except for on the basketball court, where he used to always tell me, do as I say, not as I do. Another value my dad and I would often discuss was someone who gets it. The way we described getting it was, no one knows what it is, but when someone gets it, you just know. Well, now that I can step back and look at all the people here and how much my dad meant to so many people, I think it's safe to say that my dad just got it. There's something about talking with him that just made you feel good. He used to always tell me Mother Teresa's quote, "People won't remember what you said to them, they'll only remember how you made them feel." And he always had a way of making whoever he was talking to feel special. And I really believe that getting it is a quality that not many people have, and I find myself so lucky for getting to spend 17 years with someone who did. All right, the third category is passion, and a couple of other people who have talked have kind of touched on this already, so I only have one real example of his passion, and it's the only example I need. His greatest display of passion had to be the passionate love that he and my mom shared. I can honestly say that I've never seen, and will probably never see, a couple go through so much, so strong together until the very end. Growing up, whenever my dad got home from work, he always made sure to go up and give my mom a kiss and ask how her day was. Oh, sorry, the pages are stuck. There were weeks at a time when my dad was in the hospital and my mom would just sit by his side, just sit and be with him. And I know had the roles been reversed, he would have been right there sitting by her side doing the same thing. That was just the type of bond they had. Their faces lit up when they saw each other, and that is not something that can be faked. Anyone that was around them always knew how much they loved each other. It was always just so apparent. But just because they were so in love didn't mean they didn't have their disagreements. Never anything big, but I'll never forget the arguments. Most of them over board game rules or something trivial. That ended with, "You know what, Cliff, you're right. No, Victoria, do you see? No, Cliff, I don't, you're right. But Victoria, do you... And my mom saying, "Cliff, I don't need to win with you." And that was when he'd be quiet and realize that she was his balance. She was his balance. They were perfect for each other, and they both knew it. And now, final category, one of my dad's favorite things in life, quotes. I can't talk about quotes and not include my dad's own and his favorite. There are only two things you can control in your life, your attitude and your effort. I've heard this so many times I cannot even tell you. And if you guys know the type of relationship that I had with my dad, you know that proving him wrong was probably one of my favorite things to do. So I would sit there thinking of anything else you can control in your life. I would think, well, you can make decisions, but you can't really control the outcome, only how you look at it. So that's your attitude. Well, I can choose whether or not I do something, so I'm controlling that right, and I can hear his response. Well, that's just deciding how much effort you're putting into whatever it is. So that's your effort. Well, Dad, don't think I'm giving up on proving you wrong just because you're not physically here with me. But something tells me I'm never going to win this one. And one quote so fitting to his life that goes, "You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans." I don't know if that quote applies to anyone else more than my dad. If you would have asked him 6 years ago what he'd be doing the next 5 years of his life, the last thing that crossed his mind would have been anything involving him getting sick. He never could have imagined all the twists and turns his life took, but one thing that stayed constant through it all was his amazing positive attitude. Through his entire fight, never once was it "why me" or "I can't believe this happened." He kept his positive attitude, and it was truly inspirational. One thing I think everyone can take away from this is that nothing in life is guaranteed, so enjoy every second you get to spend with your loved ones. Because at any second, all your plans can change. I'm going to end this with a quote I heard recently. They say every man dies twice. One time when you stop breathing, and a second time a little later on when someone says your name for the last time. And judging by the amount of people in this room and the quality of man my dad was, I would imagine that second time isn't going to be for a while. Thank you all so much for coming. The support my family has been shown through all this is truly amazing. Thank you.